I'd like to start by thanking the grace of heaven, virtues of masters, grand predecessor, transmitters, and all of you for giving me the chance to share this class today. And I always like to start this topic by saying that this isn't meant to force anybody to become vegetarian, but really it's about sharing information and Tao principles. And if we hear something that resonates with us and prompts us to make a change in our lifestyle, then that's great. And if not, that's okay too, right? Everyone's journey on their path to cultivation is at a different pace. So hopefully we remember some of this from the 2-day Dharma class. But just a quick review, vegetarianism is the lifestyle of not eating meat. So that means no poultry, no fish, no seafood. Some say nothing with flesh or nothing that has a mother or a soul. Now, veganism is the same thing, plus no animal byproducts. So that means also no eggs, no dairy, and no cheese. And when we say lifestyle, it could also mean, not wearing leather or not using cosmetics with animal byproducts either, like lipstick or skincare. So something to keep in mind. And when we talk about vegetarianism or veganism in Tao cultivation, it's everything we just said, plus some additional aspects. So no pungent vegetables. According to Tao cultivation, the reason we don't eat pungent vegetables is because the scallion, or the green onion, harms kidney vitality. Garlic harms the heart vitality. Chive and leek harms the liver vitality. Shallot harms the spleen vitality, and onions harm the kidney vitality. And when we say vitality here, it means the energy of the organ or the qi. Also, in addition, no tobacco, which harms the lung vitality, and no alcohol, which harms liver and brain vitality. Something in the past that Buddhas have told us is that these pungent vegetables, they're very strong in smell, so it makes it hard for the Buddhas to get close to us. Okay, so as Tao cultivators, we should try to avoid these things. So vegetarianism or veganism for Tao cultivators means having a pure diet, like we just said, but also to be pure of heart, to be sincere. Also to have a pure body, meaning perform no harmful actions. To be pure of mouth, to speak no harmful words. And to be pure of mind, to have no harmful thoughts or feelings. So truly being Tao cultivators means purifying all of these aspects together. So this is from a scripture by Zhao Jun. He's known as the Kitchen Buddha. He is in each of our homes, in our kitchens, and he says that maintaining a vegan diet protects and cherishes life while giving us health, peace, and prolonging our life. So we know some of the benefits of a plant-based diet, like helping animals. We also know that we could have better health with a plant-based diet. Research has shown that we can lower the risk of heart disease, protect us from certain cancers, lower risk of diabetes, better digestion, better sleep, and a longer life. There's so many more, right? And we also know that a plant-based diet also helps the environment, right? So meat uses a lot of Earth's resources like water and land, and it causes a lot of pollution. So there are a lot of advantages and benefits to a plant-based diet that we could, go on and on about. But for today's class, we're going to focus a little bit more on what Buddhas say about health and Tao principles of a plant-based lifestyle. So the Kitchen Buddha says that veganism increases blessings and wisdom. Not committing the sin of killing lets us establish good affinity. So by not eating animals, we're able to create good affinity with all sentient beings. And the Kitchen Buddha also said that when we have a compassionate and merciful heart, it's like we're all living Buddhas on earth. He also said that sentient beings have diverse forms, and yet their essence or their true nature is from the same source. So we all know that every sentient being has a Buddha nature, right? The Buddha nature is the original essence, or you could say the soul, without any attachments or desires. So Buddhas, humans, animals, even bugs, we all have Buddha natures. So that means we're all equal. And the Buddha, longevity saint of the South Pole, he said that these pitiful animals are only animals because in past lives, they did bad things. This is their consequence. They're here for punishment, not here for us to eat. Therefore, we need to be kind and compassionate and love them. So as humans, and even as Tao cultivators, we are not perfect, right? So if one day, if we have to come back and reincarnate as animals, would we want people to show us compassion too? And Nadzad, the third prince, he is the Buddha that sacrificed himself at 7 years old to save his entire village. He channeled and said, do we think animals are very pitiful? They can't use words to express the pain they suffer, which is very different from humans. So us humans, we're really lucky, right? We have a lot of rights and we can speak up for ourselves, but animals don't have that ability to. But they definitely suffer and feel pain just like humans do. And for a long time, people thought crustaceans, like lobsters, couldn't feel pain, but researchers discovered that they can feel pain. And something that's really sad is that lobsters are boiled alive for people to eat. And it was discovered fairly recently that lobsters actually can't go into shock. So humans and animals, when we experience extreme pain, our bodies go into shock. So our nervous system shut down to protect us from that pain. But lobsters can't do that. So they feel every second of being boiled alive. So animals definitely feel pain, and not just physical pain, but emotional pain too. There's a lot of videos online that we can see baby animals being separated from their parents, and you can hear them squealing, trying to get back to each other. And as a new mom myself, I feel a lot of empathy for them now, right? So I really can't imagine what it's like to be separated like that forcefully right after birth. And the third prince said, if the meat we ate was from our deceased father, mother, or grandpa or grandma, who reincarnated into that animal and was killed and eaten by us, then wouldn't we feel sad? So when I first heard this when I was little, this was really the concept that kind of stuck in my mind and resonated with me. Like, how would I feel if it was someone I knew who was reincarnated and I accidentally ate them? And even if they aren't our loved ones, they're somebody's loved ones, right? Somebody's child, parent, friend. Moreover, eating meat creates karma, and then the grievances of these animals continue to accumulate. And in the end, many disasters will come and we'll have many health problems. So when we eat these animals, they're going to want payback one day. And that could be in the form of encountering disasters or health problems or even reincarnation possibly, right? So by reducing the amount of meat we eat, we are reducing the amount of bad karma we're creating and actually able to create good affinity with these sentient beings instead. And Holy Teacher has said in the past that there are many disasters, many car accidents, tsunamis, and even wars between countries. We definitely see that, right? And if people can eat less meat, these disasters will be reduced. And a concept we might have heard in the past are these invisible flags that those with yin-yang eyes can see. So regular people typically can't see these. If a person has a white flag behind them, it means that that person is destined for bad fortune. A black flag behind them means they're destined for a car accident. A red flag means that they will encounter a fire or water disaster. And a green flag means a mudslide. Now, yellow flags are the good flags, and we can get up to 5 yellow flags. So luckily, all of us have at least 1 yellow flag behind us for receiving the Tao blessing. We can get a 2nd yellow flag if we ever make the vegetarian vow, a 3rd yellow flag for the lecturer vow, the 4th for propagating Tao vow, and the 5th for the transmitter vow. So during disasters, Buddhas and spirits will look at these flags that each of us have to determine who to save first. So if we reduce our bad karma and our bad affinity with sentient beings, then we reduce the chances of getting a bad flag. And we really don't know how much bad karma we've accumulated over this life and even past lives, right? So all we can control is what we do going forward. And by cultivating sincerely, making vows and fulfilling them, we're able to improve our fates for the better, but it starts with reducing our harm on all sentient beings by eating more plant-based. And something interesting was that several years ago, Holy Teacher had channeled and he asked for donations for the Buddha Nature study machines for other Tao members, but he would only accept donations from the staff members who made the vegetarian vow. And Holy Teacher said this is because those who are not vegetarian, when they donate, Buddhas are only able to receive up to half of the value of that donation, because the majority of their donation is taken by the spirits that they owe, since those spirits want payback on their karmic debts. So it's really interesting and shows how much of a difference it can make by going vegetarian and then making the vow when we're ready. And Holy Teacher said, when we cultivate Tao, we should learn from the Buddhas. The first thing is to break the bad affinities with sentient beings. If we do not eat them, then there is no bad affinity. So we know that there's no Buddha, no Bodhisattva who eats meat. So if we want to be like them one day, then we need to learn from them. And if we do not harm these animals, then naturally heaven will innately protect us, right? So if we don't create any bad affinity with others, if we're able to accumulate those yellow flags, then heaven will always try to help us. And when we encounter disasters, we need to turn danger into safety, turn misfortune into good luck. Thus, we need to cultivate regularly. So we've heard a lot of Tao principles, but we need to put them into practice. Then we will be fortunate people. So this tells us that we actually do have control, some control over our fates. And how do we turn our fates around if we feel our lives are very unlucky or unfortunate? The way we turn it around is by cultivating sincerely, by not creating more bad karma and have bad affinities with sentient beings. That's the only way to improve our lives. Okay, so Buddhas have given us the key to making our lives better. It's just up to us if we want to do it or not. And Holy Teacher says, often store good thoughts. Good thoughts are like a signal, and then we will attract the same. So it goes both ways. If we think negative things constantly, the negative things are going to be attracted to us. So it's important that we practice cultivating a pure mind so we don't attract those things, right? Because if we think negative or evil thoughts a lot, then evil spirits are also going to be attracted to us and will keep encouraging us to do bad things, right? But as long as we have compassionate thoughts, are very kind, naturally these things will not dare disturb us. Okay, so we want to cultivate sincerely, let our positive aura glow so bright that evil leaves us alone. And clean our areas and clean our minds. And the Kitchen Buddha also said to not let things become too messy, too disorganized. So they're saying that we need to be tidy physically, but we also need to purify our thoughts. And Holy Teacher tells us, everyone must be careful. If we see ants, cockroaches, mosquitoes, etc., let them go. Clean our area as well. So we can reduce the amount of insects in our homes, in our temples, if we try to keep things clean. Okay, so do our best to keep things tidy. And if we see bugs in our homes, we should try to catch them and set them free. Right? And we know that these bugs have Buddha natures too, so we want to be kind to them. And when I was little, my mom would tell me that Lady Bodhisattva walks on her tiptoes to avoid stepping on these little creatures. And I don't know if that's proven or true, but it was something I always remembered. So even now to this day, I still always look where I'm stepping and try to be careful. And Holy Teacher says, if someone is cruel, they see these creatures and want to kill them, then in the future, those people will have many illnesses and encounter many calamities. And he says that in our hearts, we should not think that if they didn't come, I wouldn't kill them. If they didn't bite me, then I would not hit them. And if they did not come into my yard, I would not throw stones at them. Okay, so we don't want to think those things, because even if they intrude on us, as long as we broaden our minds a little, try our best to give them a lifeline. Because if we give them a lifeline, it is giving ourselves a lifeline too. And if we can treat others well, treat all sentient beings well, then heaven will also treat us well. And the Buddha says, when we cook for others, we need to be hygienic and nutritious. We should not cook angrily, otherwise when people eat it, it will not be healthy. Okay, so the Kitchen Buddha also said, if we cook while wishing people good fortune, then when people eat the food, they will be very happy and healthy. Okay, so when we cook in the temple especially, we want to do it with, properly, hygienically, and have a good attitude, right? We should be grateful to have an opportunity to earn some merits, and we have a chance to show newer members how good vegan food can be. Now, the Kitchen Buddha said that nowadays we tend to buy a lot and eat a lot and then have a lot of leftovers. But he says he also came to remind us, especially the staff members in the kitchen, not to buy too much, because then it goes bad. In the future, everyone should save a little. This will save ourselves some fortune and save some fortune for our offspring. So it's been said that every time we waste rice or waste anything really, we're cutting our own fortune down and reducing our own lifelines. And the Kitchen Buddha also said, it's crucial that we control our food intake and not eat too much. By eating the appropriate amount, can it be completely digested? So we can save a little bit too by not overeating and not overindulging. I know this can be a little hard when something's really delicious, but that's also part of cultivation, right? Is working on our self-control. And to be healthy, we need to be aware of greed, which is one of the 3 poisons. The 3 poisons include greed, anger, and stubbornness. Thus, if we eat one of the poisons, we will definitely not be healthy, right? So if we're constantly gluttonous and greedy and we always want to eat too much, then that's poison and becomes poison inside of our bodies. And the Buddha says when we eat, we should first consider if there's enough for others. Don't only think of ourselves. So sometimes, temple food can be so delicious, and maybe we rush to line up to eat, and then we maybe rush to get seconds. But maybe did we ever consider that some of the other staff members who are busy doing tasks, cleaning, maybe they didn't get to eat yet. So by the time they come to get food, all the food's gone. So everything we do, we want to try to be a little more selfless and just think about others. And the Buddha says we must carefully choose what we eat and drink. The saying that disease and illness enters through the mouth is no joke. So as we said earlier, there's a lot of illnesses that can be prevented and even treated by switching to a plant-based diet. Some of them like heart disease and diabetes, and even it's been proven depression as well. So the Kitchen Buddha tells us people nowadays like to drink beverages, but the Buddha kindly tells us that those beverages with added sugar and fragrance, we should try not to drink. Instead, drink more water. It can improve our blood circulation, and we should especially drink good water, healthy water, and our bodies will be healthier. We should not drink cup after cup because of greed for sweets and fragrance. So I know a lot of my friends and my coworkers, they actually like to drink a can of soda for breakfast, first thing in the morning, and they drink about 3 to 4 cans of soda a day. And they constantly are telling me about how they can't lose any weight, and some of them are diabetic. So I've suggested in the past that they cut back on their soda and drink more water, eat more vegetables. And they told me that they don't need to do that because their doctors have prescribed them something where they inject themselves with a shot in their stomach or their leg once a week so that they can lose weight. So what they're injecting is a hormone that makes their brain think they're full and slows down their digestion. So it increases the time it takes for food to leave their body. So it's really not very natural for our bodies to do that. but they feel like it's a shortcut and it's easier. And what's funny is that they end up telling me about how sick they feel all the time. So then they take other pills to help with the nausea. And I pointed out that, it would be much simpler and cheaper if we just adjust our diets a little, our lifestyles a little. But a lot of people are not willing to give up the taste of things or not willing to change, right? And it's not saying that we need to cut stuff out completely, but just reduce some of the things that are not so healthy for us. And the Buddha asks us, do we eat a lot of processed foods, such as veggie meats, crackers, candy, especially things with food coloring, preservatives, synthetic sugars, all kinds of added things? Everyone should try not to eat these because once we ingest it, our bodies must work very hard. So avoiding processed foods 100% is probably not very realistic, especially in the US. But Buddhas are just asking that we don't rely too heavily on these, right? Do everything in moderation and try to limit a little bit by little bit. And something about food coloring that I didn't realize for a long time was that some food colorings are made from bugs, crushed up bugs and bug shells. So like I said earlier, a lot of makeup and skincare, lipstick, they're also made from bugs and animals. So if we're trying to live a pure plant-based lifestyle, it's something to keep in mind. Holy Teacher says that we shouldn't eat fried food too often and we'll be less grumpy. Our Holy Teacher is not joking with us. Eating less fried and processed things can make the blood circulation of our bodies become better, and people will feel more comfortable and their moods will improve. So I've seen firsthand that when some people don't feel well physically, they tend to be crankier and take it out on people next to them. But Buddhas are being very reasonable, right? They're not saying we shouldn't eat it, just don't eat it so often, right? Try to cut back a little. And if I'm honest with myself, I also enjoy junk food, but there's something I'm trying to work on. And I actually find that when I eat more home-cooked meals that are better balanced with tofu and vegetables, I always feel better and just more energized. And on the days where I eat a lot of junk, I usually feel really bad and very sluggish. And the Buddha says, there are many chronic diseases now. You should eat more vegetables and fruits and eat less meat. If we can avoid meat, then we should. From a health perspective, meat is acidic and difficult to digest and decompose. Meat is the source of many chronic diseases. And the third prince, he also says that some of us think, why are our bodies so sore on one side and painful on the other? It's because we've eaten too much meat before. And the Kitchen Buddha says, eating a vegetarian diet, we should not worry about malnutrition. Different colored vegetables have different nutrition. Eating 5 grains, bean sprouts, vegetables, fruit, nutrition should be even. So it's saying that we need to eat all kinds of nutritious things, right? Not only eat fruit for every single meal, but to have a very balanced diet across all of our meals. And the Buddha says that we all feel eating vegetarian and not eating eggs is not nutritious enough. Not drinking animal milk will not grow tall. These are all incorrect thinkings. So this might be less of a misconception these days since there are a lot of resources and statistics on the internet. So we know we don't have to drink cow milk or eat eggs to be healthy, but it's definitely still a misconception in certain cultures. And a funny story is that when I was in high school, I had this friend who would try to eat something like 10 eggs a day and drink 10 pints of milk a day because he thought it would make him taller and a better athlete. But unfortunately, it didn't work and he's still shorter than me. So we know that drinking these things, we don't have to rely on that, right? So if we don't drink cow's milk, what can we drink? What can we eat besides eggs? So we know that there's so many options now other than cow's milk. There's soy milk, there's almond milk, oat milk, coconut milk, cashew milk, and so much more, okay? And some of you might know my husband, Eric. He used to love eating cheese and dairy, but he would also constantly have acne breakouts. But as soon as he cut out dairy, his skin pretty much immediately started to clear up. And he knows it's like, he said it himself that it's from cutting out dairy. So the Kitchen Buddha says, regarding eggs. These things are high protein, but if the protein is too high, it's not good for adults. It becomes a burden, not nutrition. So burden, in this case, it means it's very taxing on our bodies. It's harder to digest. And something interesting, since I started to research food allergies for my daughter, the top food allergens, according to the FDA, are cow's milk, eggs, fish, and shellfish. So it's the protein in the eggs and the protein in the milk that causes the allergic reaction for a lot of people. So we can actually get the protein and nutrition that we need somewhere else, and we don't have to put our bodies through that. And the Buddha says, young people still growing can eat soybeans, soy milk, sesame. The calcium in sesame is 10 times the calcium in animal milk. So we do not need to worry that eating vegetarian is not nutritious. We know it is if we do it correctly. And he says that simple tofu, bean curd, tofu wrap, those things we can eat. We can, if we feel eating plain vegetables is too boring, then we can eat more root vegetables. So root vegetables are things like potatoes, sweet potatoes, carrots, taro. What's funny though is a lot of people I know assume that vegans just eat boring salads and plain tofu. And a lot of my friends ask me what I eat besides that. But we know that's not true, right? A lot of vegan food can be very delicious and not boring at all. So the Buddha said that some say that they need to eat more vitamins and supplements to grow tall and strong. But he says that vitamins and supplements are not bad. We just need to do it appropriately. Do not only rely on these vitamins, and do not mistake the branch for the root. So he's just saying that we should not prioritize eating vitamins and supplements over the natural food themselves. He says that, we might need supplements at times, then we need to buy those things and take them, but it's more important that we even out our nutrition in our 3 meals. So we still need to get our annual physicals and blood tests to find out if we're deficient in anything. And if we are, then we need to make up for it in supplements. But then after that, we need to be more aware of it in the future. So for example, if we find out that we're deficient in iron, maybe we need to take a supplement to correct that. But then after that, we should also try to eat more iron-rich foods like kale, spinach, and beets. So we just need to find out and get information about what we need for ourselves. And the Kitchen Buddha also said that if we burden ourselves with trying to eat all of these supplements, but we're worrying about our finances while also wanting to be nutritious, then will our bodies even be healthy? Maybe not. So we know that vitamins and supplements, they're pretty expensive and they add up. So the Buddha is just reminding us to not overdo it, right? Don't spend all of our money on these supplements and then we end up being worried about our bank account and worrying about our health. So all these worries will cause our bodies to be unhealthy too. So he says that everyone should think about what we normally eat, what should we not go near in the future, and what do we need to add more of? We need to evaluate carefully for ourselves. So there's a right way and a wrong way to go vegan or plant-based. If we're only eating potato chips and pizza for every meal, that's still vegetarian, but it's not healthy to just do that, right? So, or if we decide that we only do raw vegan, that can have some negative impacts if it's not done correctly. So we want to make sure we're doing our research and understand what we need to be aware of. So we know that vegans tend to have low vitamin D and B12. So those are things that we maybe need to take a supplement for. But we also want to make sure that we're adding these healthy foods to our diet, right? And make sure we're eating enough protein like tofu, nuts, and beans. And as long as we have the correct concepts, we can grow tall, strong, and healthy. And then we do not create bad karma, and our fates will be even better. So if we want to have good affinity with all living beings, if we want to be healthy, and we want our fates to be better, our lives to get better, then it starts with what we eat. So the Kitchen Buddha asks, so what we eat is one thing, but is being healthy a related issue, or is it separate? So we know it's related, right? And he says that our health includes karma, emotions, lifestyle habits, etc. So for example, if we're constantly staying up late every night, will we be healthy? Probably not. And Holy Teacher says that we should be sleeping from 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. at least, because that's when our organs are restoring its energy. So we can see that, the diet is a basic part of our lifestyle, but there are a lot of other factors. If we're eating too much or too little of something, it could be good or bad for us. So we need to make sure we're following the middle path, even with our eating, everything in moderation. So hopefully we can kind of start to see now how our health and our daily habits and Tao principles are kind of all related. And the Buddha says, when we say pure diet, it's not only about eating vegetarian. Our bodies and minds must also be very pure and still. Do not do bad things and do not have bad thoughts. Vegetarianism is not just about the diet, it also includes our body, speech and behavior, and mind. So true vegetarianism is purifying all three aspects. And Holy Teacher, one of his scriptures says that the body is meant for cultivating Tao. It is not meant for sinning. The mouth is for persuading others to be compassionate. It is not meant for speaking gossip. The mind is for rectifying the heart. It is not meant for not understanding the truth. And the heart lamp shines brightly without a speck of impurity. Utmost sincerity and quietude can move heaven. So the heart lamp here is talking about our Buddha nature. We need to constantly dust it off and make it brighter and brighter. And how do we do that? By cultivating our virtues and practicing Tao principles sincerely in our daily lives. And the Buddha says, inside of our loving hearts, there is no hateful thoughts, evil thinking. Our hearts must be broad and bright. And that purity that goes in and out of our mouth establishes our virtue. The pure and tranquil nature of our body and mind is honorable and glorious. So he's saying what we say, what we do, what we eat, it all needs to be pure because that's how we build our virtue, right? We don't want to say we're vegetarians who live a peaceful life with a pure diet, but then we're lying and stealing and doing things we shouldn't be doing or saying hateful things that hurt people. Right? It's very contradictory then. And the Buddha says, those who like to yell at others, speak nonsense about others, causing others to not be peaceful, causing misunderstandings between people. God does not like these kind of people, and other people also don't like these kind of people. And he also said that the people who like to flatter others or suck up, not speak the truth, they like to turn right things into the opposite, turn nothing into something. Even spirits think that those people are annoying. He says that every word we speak kindly is like a beautiful lotus flower. Do not speak like a stabbing sword. That is not good. So the Buddha said that, we should have a soft and gentle tone, and that can soothe the heart. And he says that if we get rid of hateful words, double-faced words, flowery, imaginative words, delusional words, and instead speak kind words, truthful words, sincere words, these people will have good fortune. So if we think about how Buddhas speak, there's no Buddha that speaks hateful words, right? Even when Buddhas channel and they might be mad at us and trying to teach us, they never yell at us and say something cruel, right? They're always very patient and kind and virtuous. And, when we don't cultivate well or we misbehave, Holy Teacher always says that he's the one that has no virtues, that he's the one that's at fault because he can't teach us well. And that's why, we're misbehaving. So he blames himself for our bad behaviors. Okay, so we need to learn from him and the other Buddhas. We need to be more gentle and kind and don't disappoint the Buddhas, right? And the Kitchen Buddha says, if we maintain the precepts, naturally we will speak fragrant words. People will not duck and hide from us before we even say one word. So the Buddha also reminded us that we shouldn't speak too much. If we speak too much, people tend to lose interest and not want to pay attention, or even worse, they might try to avoid us in the future. So we should speak slowly. Don't become too high-pitched or too loud, because that can become arguing. So it's saying that we need to be aware and mindful of how we talk, right? Our tone. If we're too loud or too sharp, it can be unpleasant for the listener. And then he says, if we have many cavities, many teeth falling out, that means we need to self-reflect. Do we speak the truth or do we speak lies? Do we help others to succeed? Do we benefit others? This we should think about. And he says we must speak sincerely, say suggestions slowly, communicate well, don't speak any non-truths, and destroy our own Tao root. That would be a shame. So what it means to destroy our own Tao root, it means that we lose our virtue and that we do something against our own Buddha nature, right? And that would not be good. If we say something many times and people are unwilling to listen, while others just say something once, and then suddenly those people are willing to receive the Tao blessing and follow those people, that means we normally are not trustworthy enough and our precepts are not fulfilled thoroughly enough, right? So it means that we need to work on building our virtues so that naturally others will listen to us and want to follow us. So we should constantly ask ourselves if we are virtuous, and how can I be more virtuous? What can I do to improve myself so that I can lead by example? Because if we are willing to learn and improve ourselves, then whatever we say will touch others. And this is the Tao we are spreading worldwide. So this is the point of what we're doing, right? Cultivating and practicing Tao principles to improve ourselves, our lives, improve our fates for the better, and then to spread it as widely as possible. Because if we can do that, then the world everywhere will be more peaceful. So the Buddha said, when we're ferrying people and encouraging people, it starts with ourselves. We need to cultivate ourselves well, then naturally what we say will touch others. If we are careless and casual, no matter how well we speak about the Tao, others will not believe us. And people, we know people are always watching us, observing us, and they're going to know if what we say and what we do don't line up, if they don't match. So we need to actually put into practice the Tao principles in our daily lives, in our daily habits, our lifestyles, everything. Not just be able to talk about it, but to truly do it. Now, some say kind words, but nobody knows that their hearts and minds are bad. But those with bad mouths, everybody knows. Hateful words hurt people so that they feel so cold even in June. And the opposite is true too. If we are saying kind words in winter, then people feel so warm. And Buddha says that cuts from knives, it's easy to heal, but cuts from words are hard to heal. So Holy Teacher is always telling us to maintain a kind heart and kind thoughts, always do good things and try to help people. But it starts from our hearts, right? We can't say and do kind things, but then inside we have a hateful heart. It all needs to match up, and it all needs to be kind. When we speak, we must be sincere and polite. Don't gossip, especially in the temple. We all need to speak compassionately and speak to benefit others. So what it means to speak to benefit others means to say helpful things like, oh, receiving Tao blessing is really good for you and your family. Or, for example, encouraging somebody to eat vegetarian or more plant-based. So it's not necessarily complimenting them, but it's speaking something that's good for them and their Buddha nature. That's how we truly benefit people. And he says that we should not speak so that others will want to retreat from the Tao or have worries, or let them not have faith and have no hope. These are things we should never say. So what it means to retreat from the Tao. So for example, if someone criticized the temple chefs and said that their food is really bad, and that, and then they end up hurting the kitchen staff members' feelings, and then that staff member doesn't want to come to temple anymore or cook anymore for the temple. So we don't want people to retreat from the Tao. And what it means to give people no hope, for example, saying to a person that their karma is too heavy, that there's no chance they can accumulate enough merits in this lifetime, those are things we should never say. We should always be encouraging and being each other's cheerleaders. The Kitchen Buddha says, do not constantly look at others' flaws. Look for the good, look for the good, look for the good. So the Buddha also said that if our kids like to cry, then we should constantly say that they don't like to cry, and eventually they won't cry anymore. And if our kids like to throw tantrums, if we constantly say our kids' good qualities, then naturally our kids will feel it and begin to change. So it all starts with what we say and always look for the positive side of things. And the Kitchen Buddha said that although on the surface, we cannot see the Buddhas because not everyone can see them, there are some who can see the chief examiner of the three realms at the temple. At home, we all have the Kitchen Buddha, and whenever, wherever, there is the recording angel. Thus, everyone be cautious of their speech and actions. So we know that there are Buddhas with us every minute of every day. So we always need to be careful of what we say, what we do, and even what we think. The recording angel is the one that's always noting down all the good and bad things we do every single day. So nothing's ever missed. And the Buddha says that we should organize and spread this knowledge. This will build good affinity with all sentient beings. And as long as we all follow and do all of this, then Buddhas and Bodhisattvas will protect us, help us to be very healthy and favorable, and our family lives will be more fortunate and happy too. Such conduct helps fulfill our vows, and then Buddhas are happy to bless and protect us continuously. So we all made vows in this lifetime, and we've made vows when we were back in permanent heaven. And our goal and our mission on this earth is to fulfill those vows before we leave this world one day. And if we're putting in sincere effort and truly taking steps in the right direction, then Buddhas are always going to be next to us to help us and protect us. And the Kitchen Buddha says that he wishes everybody a healthy body and mind, that cultivating Tao can achieve Buddhahood, and that our names will be known on earth. So if we want to be remembered as kind and virtuous, just like every single Buddha, then we need to start with our cultivation, okay? So we need to make sure that we cultivate and practice these Tao principles in our daily lives. And it starts with our diet, what we say and what we do, and then cultivate our minds, and to work on getting rid of those three poisons, okay? Getting rid of the greed, get rid of anger, and get rid of our stubbornness. So during the 2-day Dharma class in 2017 in New York, Holy Teacher channeled, and he said to us that eating vegetarian lets us stop killing. It lets our hearts become more and more calm so that our minds and hearts can be still and in harmony with all. And when we have a calm heart, then we will be full of wisdom, so that when we encounter hardships in life, we are able to use our wisdom to cope and resolve difficulties. So when we cultivate, we'll have enough virtues and experience that we'll be able to handle any hardships that come in our lives, right? So if we can do this, then we can improve our lives and our fates for the better. And then he says that eating vegetarian means to stop killing and to let go of those living beings. We can break the karmic cycle with them. But of course, after only 2 days of the Dharma class, we may not be able to immediately become vegetarian. Holy Teacher is not able, he says that he's not able to so strictly request this of us, and that he only wishes that his disciples to gradually cut back, to set a target and let our life's goal become more and more good. So we should just start with breakfast. or just once a week or once a month even. Go plant-based. Just do what feels comfortable and natural to us. But any sort of little change we're willing to try to make, that's progress, right? And it happens to be January. So it's the perfect time to set a resolution for ourselves or set a little goal, a milestone, and just do our best. And the Kitchen Buddha says, if we are able to be vegetarian, then we should do it quickly. If we are not able to yet, circumstances do not allow, then start with eating the side vegetables of meat dishes. Do not eat the meat of sentient beings, just keep trying. So for example, if our parents or our family don't allow us to eat vegetarian, or they're not supportive, then maybe we just start with picking around the meat, right? The vegetables around it. It's really about our hearts. And if we're doing the best we can, heaven sees that. When my husband Eric first went vegetarian, his parents, my in-laws, were really not supportive about it. So they would constantly try to get him to eat meat and tell him that vegetarian isn't healthy. But Eric was very patient and kept telling them no, and that he doesn't eat meat anymore. And then he would slowly start to tell them, one benefit of vegetarianism each time they said that. And slowly they came around. And when I say slowly, I mean, I think it took a few years before they finally came around. So now, every time we visit, they always make sure that there's vegan food for us. And they even learned to cook vegetarian for us. And recently, his mom started to eat more plant-based too. So if we keep trying, be diligent, and don't give up, then slowly we can start to influence the people around us as well, right? And the third prince, he says, if someone does not know how to cook vegetarian dishes or thinks that vegetarian dishes are not tasty, those who can cook vegetarian dishes should teach others and help others to become vegetarian too. So what I like to do personally is to take my friends to places that I know have delicious vegan food, and then I encourage them to try it. And almost always, they're really shocked at how good it is. So the Kitchen Buddha also said that we have the opportunity to help, guide, and save people from the bitter sea of reincarnation. On the surface, we are doing those things, but actually we're really helping, guiding, and saving ourselves from the bitter sea too. And Holy Teacher says from now on, our diet we should choose vegetable, fruit, and rice. Try not to eat things with lots of sugar, MSG, and salt. So Holy Teacher and the other Buddhas have given us a lot of good methods and advice, so we can be healthy if we would put it all into practice. And if we are happy every day, follow the advice from earlier, then the Kitchen Buddha guarantees that we will be very beautiful, we won't need cosmetics, we won't need supplements, and we will become younger by many years. And since ancient times, those who achieved Buddhahood started with the vegetarian precept. And the Wensu Bodhisattva, she said that vegetarianism does not guarantee achieving Buddhahood, but those who achieve Buddhahood must be vegetarian. And if one person is vegetarian, 1,000 Buddhas are so happy. So hopefully we can see how much vegetarianism or a plant-based diet and Tao cultivation go hand in hand. Okay, so that concludes today's class. If I said anything wrong, I ask for heaven's forgiveness, for transmitters and lecturers to please correct me. Thank you.